So the minute everything starts to go down in value, they follow the herd because they don't have the ideas of their own.
What would you say, if people, I hear this argument a lot, and I'm going to, again, talk about the people who are, there's always these like naysayers in crypto that will always have something kind of negative to say. And then there's the people, I find there's crypto still in this, like, there's either people who love it and will find every excuse in the book to say that how great it is and everything that it does. And then you have the people who are completely opposed to it and they'll always have very negative things. It's a hot and cold kind of topic. Now, what would you say to the people who are kind of cold to it and say, why do you even want anonymity? Like, why? This is more kind of like a little bit diving into your brains, not necessarily a technical question, but like, what do you care, Maria, if I know that you sent $10,000 to Ryan? What would you say to that?
I mean, that has a huge social impact on this, right? If people can see what you do, and sometimes they might formulate different opinions for that, where like you send it for a wrong reason, or they don't agree with that, and that can start up arguments, or your boss can see like where you're spending money, right? This becomes a social credit system dilemma, in my opinion, and that's where we're heading in terms of CBDCs, right? And this is another topic, but without privacy. If let's say you have a crime for getting a DUI, right, and then the government can say, okay, I'm going to limit you on how much you spend on alcohol because I see your history and I put you a limit on that. That's where privacy becomes extremely important. Or let's say your health, you have diabetes and you want to buy a sugar sweets or something, and they limit you based on that. So it really affects your personal life, and this is what really concerns me regarding CBDCs, because effectively you're in total control of the government because they control the money.
Well, that is very dystopian 1984 shit. So that's like, I'm going to go buy a Snickers bar and the government's going to be like, no, that diabetes.
It's already happening. It's already happening in China, though. For people that want to book flights, let's say they have opposing views on governments, or they've been into like, all of these rallies and protests, and they can track your name and they'll say, no, you cannot spend money on this flight to fly somewhere. So it's already happening. And,
wow.
Ultimately, what a lot of nations want is, power and control. And, with CBDCs, the reason why I think they've favored a lot of stable coins is because ultimately influences the dollar more. But now, obviously with them not really having control of where it goes and, true tracking control, like, they want to develop something where they can put in place and have like a system where they can dictate on how the economy goes. And for me, that kind of kills the open market, the free market system that we have now. So.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. It's just, I'm just in general a private person. I just don't want people to know because I don't want people to know, not because I'm doing anything illegal. So I did want to kind of dispel the rumor of like, a lot of people are like, well, why? I'm like, well, I just, if I go to a specific salon or if I get plastic surgery, do I want everybody to know that I got injections or I did this or I did that? You know what I mean? I'm not saying I did, but I'm just saying, like it just, if you have that kind of stuff out there and, people can track and can almost kind of paint a picture of who you are, what you like, what you do. And that kind of takes away an element of privacy. So I'm happy that you mentioned this stuff because a lot of people associate privacy with illegal. It being illegal, and it's not. It's just, you want, even if you write to your boyfriend or girlfriend, like a text message, like, even if it's like, hey, what's for dinner? Like, you just maybe don't want anybody to read because you don't want anybody to know that you eat like crap or whatever, So that's an interesting point. What's your opinion on that, Ryan? I'm curious to hear.
Yeah. So, I mean, anonymity and privacy, it also can eliminate prejudice. From a lot of instances, like we have somebody in our Discord community and I don't know what he looks like. I don't know what his real name is. I know the area he lives in, but I don't know really anything about him other than just he really knows what he's talking about when it comes to cryptocurrency. And we might even hire him one day if it comes to that, with our business where it would make sense. And I don't care that I don't know his name. I don't care that I don't know like really anything about him, because the only thing that really matters is that he knows what he's talking about and he's passionate and he enjoys what he's currently doing because he helps out with our community all the time and like for free. He doesn't get paid right now.
Wow.
And so like it really eliminates any sense of potential prejudice, which is really cool. But and then the other side of things is there's a lot of there could be potential risk. Like if you're in the financial industry and you are creating so I have a contact that has created a protocol. I won't actually name it or anything, that is helping anonymous business owners inside of the space remain anonymous, but be able to be held accountable for the platform that they're building. And in doing so, they can receive an NFT. So what they will do is they will apply to be a verified anonymous owner of a protocol so that they are tied to that protocol, like them, like their name and like all that stuff. Yeah. But then they can still remain anonymous in the full space. That way, if something was to go wrong with the project that they're having, that they're going in their rug pulling or like doing something like that, they would be held accountable for it, but they can still remain anonymous. So I've talked with him a good amount about this stuff, and he is actually remaining anonymous for the project that is actually being the whistleblower for some of these different things and providing this NFT based verification for these anonymous business owners inside of the crypto space. And what he is doing could pose a risk if he is like a whistleblower for this stuff and he gets people in trouble that were coming out as anonymous and then not coming out as anonymous, but remaining anonymous with these projects. And then they actually do rug pull and they've been verified. And then his company whistleblows on them and then they get in trouble. Well, he doesn't want people coming after him one day, right? When you're in the financial industry, there could be risk attached with this stuff. For sure. So now this is the anonymity is a way for him to keep his family safe. And for him to have peace of mind that while he is on the front lines of making sure that he's basically being the crypto police right now, then if he whistleblows and he does catch somebody doing something that they shouldn't be doing inside of this space, then he doesn't have to worry about people coming after him one day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the interesting thing that you said is safety and so forth. And obviously, because of, again, the one thing that is good with Swift and so forth, you have your money, you have to wire somebody, there's records and so forth. If you are known to have a lot of crypto assets or you're very kind of outspoken in the space, your safety and your family safety and so forth can be, can be compromised. And, I think in North America and Western Europe, kind of the first world countries, we're a little bit oblivious to this. But if you're like in a third world country, like you need like armed guards and shit if you're talking about this stuff and so forth. So that's, it's something that people consider. And I'm happy kind of to close the loop on this topic is really, privacy doesn't mean that you're hiding something or you're doing something illegal. And that's I just kind of wanted to spell it out because I get that question a lot. And I'm like, listen, it's just like, like we all said, not to be repetitive here. It's just, you just don't want people to know stuff about you. That's it.
Yeah, I want to add one more kind of like analogy to this. It's like the superhero mask. It's like, when Spider-Man loses his mask, and I think, what was it, the Dr. Octopus or something, one of those villains ends up going after his family once he realizes who he is.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same kind of scenario here inside of the crypto space.
Yeah. Now, do you think that legislation and like the government getting involved and making laws for this will kind of open up, Monero or other types of currencies like that? Or is, kind of inevitably we have to kind of stick with more, I don't want to call them open, but kind of more transparent protocols like Bitcoin and ETH?
Yeah, I think we're definitely leaning towards the transparent protocols first. I think we have to obviously ultimately get mass adoption first before we can, migrate people to private protocols. So because once people, use these and are comfortable with these, then they can, open their eyes and see, okay, these are the advantages for this. Now, how can I make my finances private now, right? Where do I go next? So I think we have to play by the rules first, and play nice with the government, because ultimately, if they're the ones that can turn the green light on for a massive flood of investments from trillions of dollars that's sitting right there for a lot of the boomers that have a lot of money. So I think again, a lot of people that don't know the space really just don't understand it. And when you don't understand something, you fear it. That's your initial instinct, is fear, right? So with the government playing nice with Bitcoin and Ethereum and having all of these transparent protocols, that kind of signals to the majority, or like, well, if the government is allowing it, then now I can, start investing, right? And that will, sprout new ideas and then ultimately raise interest into other protocols.
Do you think that the government saying it's okay to invest is what's preventing it to get to the masses?
Yes, I think that's largely the case, especially for large institutions, right? Because they ultimately want to play by the rules, because they can get fined or ultimately go out of business, right? So it's the regulatory clarity that's, I think, it's the ultimate deciding factor on turning the green light and opening the floods for crypto.
I think I'm going to disagree with you there, Joni. I'm going to disagree. I think, just based on my experience and people around me, I think it's not the regulation. I think people find it confusing, and not confusing, meaning, when you just read about something, even if it's the simplest thing, if you read one word that just doesn't make sense, you're like, oh, you lost everybody, right? I feel like that's the situation with crypto. Is like, you tell somebody you need to download a wallet. What wallet? Why is there a wallet? Whose wallet? Is it my wallet? His wallet? Like, there's still a bit of that kind of, I feel like maybe younger people can get it a little bit more, but we're still in the older people just find it confusing. So my personal opinion is that the reason that it's not reaching the masses is because there's still this like techie, geeky thing about crypto. And when you get, at least let's say, to the 50 plus kind of demographic, they just hear about wallets and money moving with QR codes and stuff like that. And you're like, no, they're lost. So I don't know, Ryan, what do you think? Let's see what Ryan thinks about this one.
Yeah, I definitely think crypto education is the biggest thing that's getting in the way from, mass adoption really taking place here. I'd argue to say that mass adoption is already here, right? Because we have Starbucks creating loyalty rewards programs with NFTs now. We have countries making Bitcoin their legal tender, like El Salvador and the Central African Republic, right? So mass adoption is here. We've never reached a point where crypto and NFT and blockchain based solutions are being used as prolific, one of those words, as they are today. So now, since people are starting to see these larger entities coming in and using all this stuff, it's going to spark more of a wave of education to actually take place. And it's purely the education and the volatility that's causing the lack of adoption, because the volatility, it's like a cycle of problems, right? There's a lack of education, which leads to volatility, and which the volatility leads to even more lack of education, because people say, oh, it's too volatile. I'm not going to learn about that. So then they don't learn about it. And then when it starts to go up, they're like, okay, fine, I'll buy some. And then they buy some. And then when it tanks, they're like, oh, I knew that wasn't a good idea. I'm never learning this. And that it's the cycle that takes place right now, because people sell because they don't know what they're actually buying. So the minute everything starts to go down in value, they follow the herd because they don't have the ideas of their own. So it's a vicious cycle of volatility leading to a lack of education, and a lack of education leading to volatility.
I'd like to push back on this a little bit, because the reason I say it's the regulatory clarity is because Fidelity, right, it has about $10 trillion in assets under management. And 90% of its clients on the last survey that they had are interested in accessing Bitcoin and other crypto. And it doesn't just have to mean them interacting, but I mean in terms of holding it on their portfolio. Yeah. Right. So, and Fidelity can't just say, okay, here you go. Now you can have a larger percentage. They have to go by what is allowed, right? Right now they're offering a very small percentage of Bitcoin to hold, and now they're looking to increase it and going with the regulations. So I think, if there was like an ETF like Bitcoin, or just allowed Fidelity just to hold spot Bitcoin for its clients to have in their treasury investments, I think there will be a lot more adoption because the interest is there. It's just, people are reluctant to turn on the green light because a lot of these, where the large money is placed is towards with Fidelity, BlackRock, and all of these large, corporations that investment companies, right? So yeah, I think with regulatory clarity, people will be more free to choose and have more investment, more holdings into this industry ultimately, which, what really comes and raises interest is that usually has been bull markets, right? The price goes up, people love that. And then ultimately, that's how we got in. We got in because we bought Bitcoin at a cheap price and we saw it go up. And now we were curious, like, why is it going up? Why are things pumping? So, and it's simple market psychology, right? People are attracted to prices going up, right? And that ultimately raises interest. So I guess that's my thing when it comes to that, and just
seems
looking
like
at a data perspective.
It's a trilemma.
Hope you found today's session valuable. If you have any questions for me or just want to connect, please feel free to visit my website, mariasparagas.com. That's mariasparagis.com. I'd love to hear what you're working on, so drop me a line on any hot button issues your business is experiencing. And remember, don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once.